Roll call, Mr. Shi,
Here.
Mr. Errico,
Here.
Mrs. Ward,
Here.
Mrs. Maroney,
Here.
Mr. Brescher,
Here.
Mrs. Patel,
Here.
Mrs. Conway.
Here.
Everyone's here except for Mrs. Peng and Dr. Chen.
Opening statement, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies of which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the Edison Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Board of Education administrative offices. Copies of the notices were sent to the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger on August 9th, 2019. The public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws and the applicable state regulations. As you all know, this is the emergency meeting, so that's why we posted last week, right? So we're gonna go to a privilege session first. Hope that it's gonna be a short one. So, Rich?
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Edison, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Attorney-client privilege discussion regarding appointment of acting superintendent. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Can I have a motion? Mr. Errico, second. Mrs. Conway?
Mrs. Conway,
Yes.
Mrs. Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Brescher,
Yes.
Mrs. Maroney,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Errico,
Yes.
Mr. Shi.
Yes.
All yes.
15, 20 minutes, that's all, hope so. Thank you. All right, so we're back. Do I need a motion to come back?
I think so. Do we usually? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we are reconvened to open session. Can I have a motion on that? Okay, Mr. Errico, second. Mrs. Conway?
Mrs. Conway,
Yes.
Mrs. Patel,
Here.
Mr. Brescher,
Yes.
Mrs. Maroney,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Errico.
Yes.
Mr. Shi.
Yes.
All yes.
All right, so we only have one agenda item. You already have in your hand that was just passed out. So we're open for public comments on this particular agenda items only. So anyone who has any comments, go to the podium, name and address. See none? All right, let's move on. So can I have a motion on this resolution? Okay, Mr. Errico, second. Mrs. Ward?
Mrs. Conway,
Yes.
Mrs. Patel,
I just want to say something. Margaret has done a great job for this district, and what I'm about to say isn't really about her. One of our core responsibilities as a board is to appoint a permanent superintendent. We have been without one now for about a year and a half, and I'm not confident that we're doing our absolute best to appoint one. With the school year approaching, overcrowding, the bond referendum, and the countless other issues that continue to pile up, we need to focus on finding a permanent superintendent instead of patching this problem indefinitely. So I'm voting no on this resolution.
Mr. Brescher,
Yes.
Mrs. Maroney,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Errico,
Yes.
Mr. Shi.
Yes.
6 yes.
So
Motion
congratulations, Margaret. You are the acting superintendent. Welcome back. Okay, so now we are board member comments. So since Val just touched upon on that, so I'm just gonna provide an update to the public about the superintendent search. let's just be very frank here. The Mr. Saxon is on a temporary leave because health reasons. It was not something that we anticipated. So we need to fill this position. Someone needs to fill this position in order for the school district to move forward, because we have a lot of things that needs to be signed. That this role needs to be filled. That's why Margaret was appointed. And it was on a very short notice that, we were hoping Mr. Saxon will come back very quickly. But last week, towards the end of the week, he told us he's gonna have a surgery, and there will be some recovery time for the surgery. The anticipated time is about 6 to 8 weeks. I had a very a nice conversation with him this morning, actually. He sounded very upbeat, and he thinks that he will be back on October 1st, and let's all hope that that is the case. Okay, so just an update on the superintendent search. As of last month, we had a total of 50 applicants. 15 or 12 of them are sitting superintendents, or they just left the superintendent position in other school districts. I think 12, I'm sorry. 12 are sitting or just left the superintendent position for whatever. We have a total of 15 candidates that are having a central administration positions for different districts. I have been asking the search firm to go out and continue to recruit people from other high-performing school districts. The job opening is still open till the end of this month, so the people can still apply. What they have done in the past couple of weeks is some of the applications were not complete, so they have follow-up to complete all those applications so they can start the review process. I told them the situation we have. I asked them to speed up the process. So what they will do is there are 3 members on the search firm. Each one will pick 10 candidates. So they all got together, and so there's some overlap, some there's no overlap. So they agreed to start screening on the first 10 candidates the last week of this month. Okay. They have scheduled interviews for those 10 people on the what was the date here? On 26, 27, 28, those 3 days, they have already scheduled 10 people. They will continue to schedule more candidates for screening in the month of September. So based on what I was told, that he feels very comfortable by the end of September, we should have a very good candidates pool after the initial screening. The other things, they do plan to come in on the 26th to present the superintendent profile to the school board. That's as planned. As you all know, they did a survey and they received quite some feedbacks. So based on the feedback and some of the feedbacks, they met with the administrators, they met the school board members. I think they met some of the union folks as well, if not mistaken. So they're going to put a profile together and present to us on Monday when we have our normal meeting. Okay. They have moved up the schedule, as said. So let's see how this process goes. I understand that we need to speed up the process, but let's remind everybody, I've said multiple times, the superintendent position is probably more important than the mayor's. We want to do it right. We only have one chance to do it right for the taxpayers and students at Edison. Speed is one issue. Do it right is one issue. Let's balance it out, and let's make sure that we have the best superintendents out there for the school district. So that's my update on the superintendent search. There are a couple items I want to mention as well. Let me see what else the other thing. Okay, so last time when we had a meeting, we had some students who came to talk about the Edison baseball field. We mentioned to the folks that because water table level is high, so we are looking to getting an engineer to do some assessment to make sure we get it right again. Okay, not we have to do it right. Not like JP Stevens, we actually, did the turf field, and the water was still coming in towards the end. We have a couple proposals from the engineering firm. The finance and facility meeting next Tuesday, we're gonna have a meeting to go through those proposals. We're gonna pick an engineer. Then we hope that we'll appoint at the next meeting on Monday, the 26th. And then we're gonna start move forward with the turf field. So the folks, if you are listening, the turf field is coming, all right? I have mentioned to them that we wanna get this one done before the winter, so the kids can play in the spring. Yes.
Is that just for
Well, let me finish, then you can ask, okay? The other thing is that the people have noticed that we had a lawsuit to the zoning board that was dismissed by the judge. I totally disagree with judge's assessment and judge's ruling. I think it's wrong. We're waiting for the final decision. Then the board will consider what's our next action is. It's very likely we're gonna appeal. I just want people to, just to remind people that I see some people are trying to get some, brownie points for whatever reasons they want to do. But let's just keep in mind, right? Let's just use these 18 units as an example, right? I think I did a calculation last time, but I'm doing it one more time. So these 18 units, they're selling for about $500,000. The property tax is probably somewhere around $15,000, just simple calculation. Edison School District takes about 57% of the property tax. Let's just use 60% for easy calculation, right? 60% of the 15,000, that's $8,000 per unit per year. 9,000, I'm sorry, 9,000 per year. Of 80 units, that's $72,000 per year. And our education cost per student is $14,000 per student. And we are averaging about 1.5 students for those 8 houses. So we have a total of 12 students. The education cost per year is 14 times 12, that's 168,000. We're taking 72, we're dishing in $168,000. So let's just put it in these students for 12 years, okay? 12 years, 168 times 12, that's $2,016,000 to educate these 12 kids in 12 years. So when you do a calculation, you use a $2,016,000 and divide by 72, you get how many years we can get back? It's 28 years. 28 years. What does it mean? It means within the 28 years, they can only have 12 kids. If we have more than 12 kids within these 28 years, all the taxpayer in town is paying for that, okay? Yeah, so we're gonna incur some legal costs to fight for this, but this is way lower than the tax, than the cost the taxpayer is gonna pay. And let's keep in mind, this is just the beginning. We all know there are 220 units at Jackson Avenue. The 40 units are being built on Woodbridge Avenue. That was 3 houses and converted into 40 apartment units. There's another notice come from the zoning board. There are 2 houses being knocked down on Central Avenue. 14 apartments building will be built on Central Avenue, okay? There's a rumors that about another 200 units are being built, or will be built behind the Inman Golf Course. So think about those impacts before you come over and start talking about legal costs. Legal costs compared to the cost that people is going to pay, that's absolutely minimum. But this fight is still just starting. We have to keep the zoning board responsible for what they're doing. We cannot continue to let this overdevelopment, go. Because at the end of the day, everybody in town is going to pay for it. Okay. Then the third item is the modular buildings, and we're very close to the school starts. And if you go to FDR and if you go to Woodrow Wilson, you will see all the modular are already in their places. The FDR just got put in today, and Woodrow Wilson was done about a couple of days ago. Some of the folks probably gonna, come back to the school board and saying that the buildings look like trailers in Woodrow Wilson. But let's keep in mind that these are modular buildings. The outside of the building, they are metal right now. We knew that we're not going to be able to get the sidings done in time. So when we order these units, they can be put in and put into use right away. Okay? So by September 1st, these units will be in place. We are picking the sidings right now. The sidings will be matching with those brick sidings, matching the sidings on the same color. We hope the same color and same texture as the other ones on the Woodrow Wilson building. The FDR, they will have a better siding than Woodrow because FDR we started planning earlier, and Woodrow we did it in the last minute. But be assured that those modular buildings will be looking the same, similar to the other permanent structures. Okay, so those are. Let me see what other things I have. Okay, the other thing is that I met the mayor over the weekend when we were doing the India Day Parade. I had walked a couple blocks with him. We talked about collaboration. He's all for it. So we'll see what's going to happen in September. I think the problem is not the mayor. It's more of the council. The council has a committee called, they have a school board liaison committee. And recently someone mentioned to one of the member on the committee, and they said, hey, we should be meeting with the school board. And the answer was, these F people were suing us. I'm not meeting with them. Okay? So, if they're not meeting with us, the council, we'll go meet with the mayors. Let's hope that, things can move forward. We talked a couple of things that we can collaborate together. So we'll see where we go. Okay. So those are the updates from me. Any other board members? See none? We open for public comments. Yes.
Anthony Diamond, 15 Rodak Circle. I first want to commend Board Member Patel for her comments before. I completely agree with you, so thank you. Sunday I was at the parade as well. I had the opportunity to be introduced, Councilman Joshi introduced me to Mayor McCormick from Woodbridge, who I'm a huge fan of. And when I was introduced to the mayor, I said to him immediately how much of I was a fan, but I said particularly because of his ability to work with all the branches of the government in Woodbridge, the Board of Ed, the council, and they just get stuff done. They really do. As a matter of fact, I think he's up for re-election this year, and he's going uncontested. So that just goes to tell you that the people are impressed in Woodbridge. And he turned around to me and he said, Ant, it's really simple. He goes, it's really simple. It's people that make it difficult. And I think he's 100% right. You know where I stand on the superintendent. I think you guys have put this off. You dug yourself your own hole, and now we have an acting superintendent for an interim superintendent. And this is where I see you have a $190 million bond referendum coming up in December. And I can't stress the importance enough to have a superintendent to lead this, to oversee it, to make sure that the money's being spent correctly. And not even that, the people are not even really aware that there's a $190 million bond referendum. And it's important that we start getting that message out. I'm happy that you spoke with the mayor. I saw the mayor there as well. That's really important. I believe in the open, listen, I've been saying for months how the board needs to communicate better with the mayor. The mayor is key to fixing overcrowding. The council needs to be more involved as well. So I'm happy that these conversations were
It's
going on.
happening.
What's that?
It's happening.
Yeah, no, and that's good. That's moving forward. That's very important. So, I can't stress enough. Also, particularly keeping I think we have future rock stars in this district. So I think that listen. I'm not going to mention any names right now. I have a few in mind, but I'd rather see a superintendent come from in district, somebody in house. I think we have enough qualified individuals here already, but hopefully it gets done specifically for this bond referendum. It's that important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Since you mentioned bond referendum, as you know, we will try to push for September. We didn't get enough approval, and then during the summertime, a lot of folks are off. So right now it's December 10th. I'm glad actually it's not on September 10th with the Suez and stuff. So, we're gonna come out. You're gonna see campaign coming out, and we only have one shot. I keep saying that. Let's get it done. Let's get it right. So as far as superintendent, Mr. Saxon has 30 years experience, so he has a lot of experience. Unfortunately, there was something unexpected. So we put an acting superintendent who actually had a lot of experiences as superintendent, and she worked in our districts before. So, so that's it. Any other public comments? Okay, yes.
Susan Campione, 8 Schiffer Court. Just very quickly about substitutes, we know that there's such a problem. I think it was mentioned in the last meeting that it's busy here, so we don't do the workshop over the summer. But, I have a daughter who would love to substitute. She's in college, but the workshops are never in January when the kids are always off from school, and they're never over the summer. It always seems to happen right after all the kids go back to school. And they're a great resource to be able to sub when they're home. They're home for a whole month, from college. There's a lot of different breaks, and they get home early in May. So with such a problem, but there's never an opportunity. And I know even when she had applied last year to be a para in the summer, she was told she couldn't do that because she didn't have the substitute certificate, but there's never an opportunity to get it when they're home. So it's just something to think about going forward, because a lot of the kids that have gone through our schools would like to sub, but they just can't get in if they don't go to school locally.
Okay.
Thanks.
So thank you. So first, sign her up. And second, I'm gonna ask Margaret to go there and answer that question, because we had that question, from, you wanna address that question about, there are some other ways to get that done.
Good evening, everyone, and first of all, I just want to say thank you to the board personally, again, for your confidence in me. You know that I'm your go-to person when you need me to be here. Ms. Campione, that's a wonderful point that you make. I inherited a system where they had them scheduled at certain times of the year, so certainly maybe it's time to rethink that, relook at it. I have no problem with that, and I'll reach out to you and probably have a further discussion on that, okay?
Quick question,
Yes.
Mrs. Gandali. How about something like with a Skype? Would we be able to do a Skype workshop or, video conferencing with the kids while they were away at school? I'm not sure how that could be done, but something to look into.
Oh, I never say no to
Okay,
anything. I
thank
think
you.
the primary importance of having the folk come in here for that substitute workshop is that we kind of give them an A to Z about what you need to know to substitute in Edison, procedures, policies, expectations. It's fair to know what you're walking into and how you get paid and what the expectation is for getting onto ASOP, how you sign up for jobs. Different districts, it's not exactly the same in every district. So in order for people to hit the ground running and walk in with some basic knowledge about how policies and procedures roll out in Edison, those are the type of things that we cover. It's like a 2-hour workshop.
So,
Yes.
once you're there, I actually have a question. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
My question is, the number of people that can come to the workshop is limited. Can the information be given out prior to it? Because sometimes people come and when they see how much that they have to do prior, it's right here. They don't come back. And other people that would like to actually see it through have been eliminated because you came to your total number allowed.
Right,
Is
so
there
that
some
it
way to
takes
get the
place in this room.
paperwork?
Well, see, that's the problem, is that I was told that when they handed the paperwork out, then people didn't come to the workshop. So then they missed out on the policies and procedures piece and expectations, and then they went into the schools unprepared. So that's why they did it in
Oh,
that order.
I would make them do it prior to it, but there's some people that I've heard couldn't get into the workshop, and then they found out, people came and got the paperwork and said, oh, I'm not doing that, where the other people would have done everything, and they weren't allowed in because of the numbers. So is there some kind of happy medium to allow for more people?
I would be happy to discuss all the things that have worked or not worked with my staff. You know, they're there longer than I am. So
Good.
as I said before, it's something that I've inherited, and I'm open to anything, Elizabeth, as you
Good.
well know. Mr. Shi.
Just a quick question, since we mentioned because this room's occupied for enrollment. So how did we implement the online registration system? So did the traffic come down a little bit? Were people coming here?
The traffic has come down quite a bit, I must say.
Okay, that's good to know.
Kudos to Mr. Benedict and his department for instituting the online registration. I'm here every day working, and I have yet to see the line go out into the parking lot or around. Last year, as acting superintendent, we had water on hand for folk. We had fresh fruit and a PlayStation for children in here, to keep everybody busy. Idle hands, we didn't want that to happen, and so yeah, that's not occurred yet. So
That's fantastic.
our expectation was that it was, well, we still haven't hit the end of
Oh, yeah,
August,
yeah,
so,
2 more
we
weeks.
see, we have.
2 more weeks.
I'll knock wood on here. But certainly, that was what we were trying to avoid. But if this is gonna roll out as smoothly as it has thus far, then we could quite possibly have a substitute session in the summer,
session, yeah.
absolutely, while the kids are home before they go back, like early, first or second week of August, because sometimes they go back the third week and set up.
That's good to know that the traffic has calmed down. And if folks are watching, and please tell those people who has not registered, go online first, then come in. It will save you a lot of time.
A lot of time. It's
Thank
very,
you.
very well organized. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Shi, for pointing that out.
Okay, any other public comments? Yes.
Carol Badowski, 39 Jonathan Drive. I hate to say this with some of the people in the room, but school will be opening soon. I live around the corner from the primary at James Madison Complex, and my husband almost drove off the road on the way to taking me to physical therapy this morning because he saw the giant crane that was lowering the modulars into place, and he was so excited because we've been watching it every day. My question is, will the children at FDR be in their classrooms on day one this school year? And will they be in settings that are consistent with the requirements of their IEPs and their safety and learning needs?
The answer is yes for the first question, but that's so far they're still on schedule, but with the rain, I know it's very good for people's vegetables, for their, flower and stuff, but it's not good for the construction.
Okay.
So we do have backup plans. So if there's a slippage, the kids will be in their place, but they will soon be placed in the FDR building.
Okay.
And as far as the classrooms, those classrooms have been designed by the regulations. It went through the approval process, so I am pretty confident that we are in compliance with the requirements.
Okay. I am concerned mainly about what the backup plan, I trust that everything was planned properly for the new construction. But if the backup plan, because we're running late, violates the children's IEPs and their learning and safety needs, that's a real concern.
Yeah, I think, I don't think, I think Chris has put that all into consideration. That's, that's as far as I was told. I don't know if the special ed committee has any additional information, but that's what I was told. That we do have backup plans to take care of these kids.
Okay, and on a related note, because as I said, we drive past there every day, I know there was some talk about bringing out a second roadway for emergency vehicles to be able to access those classrooms, and also for relocating the bus lot where they have all the small buses housed on the property. Will there be any more changes that need to be done to that to make it accessible for everyone and safe?
Fantastic questions. We don't own that land. Township owns it. So that's why there's a lot of discussion in these type of.
Okay, thank you.
Other public comments? Yes.
My name's Jim Casey. I live at 51 Lynch Avenue in Edison. I have 2 boys at J.P. Stevens High School and 2 boys at Menlo Park Elementary School. First, I would like to thank the board for all the work that you guys do for our children and for the town as well. I know that Edison High School is getting the turf field, and my question is for J.P. Stevens, the soccer and baseball complex. Is there talks for what's going on for the field over there? Because I know there are several teams that don't prefer not to come and play us, and transportation's also an issue, and the students miss out. My boys this year missed about 12 games between baseball and soccer because of the field and transportation issues.
Any other question? That's it? So, Rich, I don't want to occupy this. You know the answer, so you
Well,
can.
I'll tell you what,
you know,
for the construction, J.P. Stevens and Edison High have similar upgrades. Edison High has an upgrade to the baseball field and tennis courts. J.P. Stevens is going to have an upgrade to the softball field
and the tennis court.
and the tennis courts. And that upgraded turf field is also going to be used, can be used for, like, they're going to stripe it so that you can use it for, like, lacrosse or something, too. So, but whether your baseball field stays where that is, that field will be there. You know,
Okay.
the board doesn't care whether whether the people at J.P. Stevens call it a baseball field or a softball field. And the other one that we're gonna put over where the tennis court is, we're calling it a softball field, but we don't care whether you wanna call it a baseball field or a softball field, but that'll be a turf field. The upper field, we're gonna correct the drainage on it so that the baseball field would drain. It's just at such a higher elevation, there should be no reason why we have ponding, but I guess, you'll get, gullies and stuff in there over the last 30 years and no one's ever regraded it.
Okay. And
So
if-
the answer is yes. If you actually look at our plan for the referendum, J.P. Stevens Field is included in there. But because we're gonna adding about 40 classrooms in JP, a lot of movements on these fields. So that's why Edison went first, because it's pretty much the same place. But JP, we have to move a lot of things, a lot of fields to open up parking and stuff. Plus, JP is a little bit complicated, as you know, that JP has very high water table levels than Edison High. It'll be more work, but yes, the short answer is yes, it's coming, but it's a little bit more work. So that's why we did something. You pick up a low hanging fruits just first, but
Okay.
it's coming.
And would there be any consideration of the JP playing at Edison when that turf is done between the ADs coordinating home games?
Oh,
'Cause
absolutely.
Early March, or
Absolutely.
April and March.
Especially,
Is-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, let you finish first.
No, I just know that time of year, it's very difficult for them to get games in, and again, transportation later in the year. I was just wondering if the athletic directors between the two would be interested, or if they would be coordinating schedules so that they're not playing home games on the same days,
Well,
so
yeah.
that the boys wouldn't miss.
Well, the answer is yes. If they're not interested, we're gonna make them interested.
And we are looking, the whole busing, we've actually taken an aggressive approach, and we do anticipate hiring additional drivers. I would say by September, we're really
Okay,
looking to
that's
get them
good.
on board. So we believe we're gonna make an improvement in that aspect of it, because I did see that was a problem for us over the last year or so.
Yeah. And just a comment, absolutely, my boys played baseball in the system here in March, April, May. You know, we get the snow and the rain and things. If the field is available and two ADs could work it out, by no means, we should not allow JP to play on that field, or vice versa, if it was JP's field or Edison's field. I mean, we're one township, one school system, so wherever we could get the games in, let's get the games in.
Yeah, I just know that there's several coaches that don't want to come to JP Stevens to play on that field because they're worried about injuries to
That's the
their
first time
players.
we've heard that.
I coach high school soccer in Bridgewater, Raritan,
Okay.
and I'm not saying our coach, I'm just saying that.
Right. And you've
Just in
heard,
conversations.
right. That's good to know.
But, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, any other public comments? Yes. You want me to hold? You want me to hold your?
No,
you
it's
want me
good.
to
I
hold
got
you?
a point. Hold on, this is the reason why I'm doing it. Because he's here for the first time tonight, one of the first times, and I want to, Anthony Dameron, 15 Rodak, Ken Nelson, right here.
Which one's Ken?
Right.
Ken,
so
how are you?
he just want to tell a quick story. Facebook Live, how it got started originally. He is one of the architects with me originally. It was a late night disagreement online. I think it was over Dare that we were disagreeing on, and we were going back and forth, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and finally we broke some bread and we found common ground, and I think it was you originally that came up with Facebook Live. Why don't we Facebook Live the Suez meeting? So he's here. I know he's running for the board as well, but I give credit where credit's due. So Ken Nelson, I just want to, he's also. He's part of, you could blame him as well, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, any other public comments? Yes.
Earlier, you were talking about legal issues,
Name, address, please.
Christo, 14 Fox Road, Christo Macropolis, 14 Fox Road. You were talking about legal issues that we can incur.
I was talking about the
No,
school board.
not
and
about
zoning
today.
board, yeah.
I just mean legal issues in general. You're the attorney, right?
I'm one of the board attorneys.
Okay, you weren't here when I was here last time, but somebody had brought up, I can't remember which one had brought up about, the bins, the clothing bins that you guys want to get rid of?
Mhm.
Okay, well, the Board of Education attorney said we cannot destroy them, otherwise we'll receive a lot of fines. The only thing we can do is put them in storage. 1 week later, somebody came from the Board of Education complaining to Town Hall, let's destroy the storage bins. And Anthony Dameron has always said there has to be more communication with the Board of Education and the Town Hall. God forbid the Town Hall did destroy the storage bins. How much money would the kids have lost? I mean, that's just one point. The drug testing rules. Oh, am I allowed to continue, or are
Yeah,
they speaking?
You got 6 minutes.
Oh, okay. So the drug testing rules. When I was in Edison High School, and somebody wanted you to be drug tested, you had to be drug tested within 3 hours. Most of the students have single family, either with their mother or their father. They're usually working. They don't have a ride. And when this happens, you can't walk from Edison High to JFK Hospital because you have to go to JFK Hospital to take the test. You can't make it there in 3 hours. And the school never provides transportation for that. And I'd just like to know why. It's not that I'm for drug testing or I'm against drug testing, but why don't you just drug test the students while they're there at the school at that moment? Because what happens is the kids that don't go in 3 hours to JFK, they end up going to Raritan Valley Academy, where that's supposed to be a school to be for punishment. That's where you go for punishment. So I've known many kids that went to JFK, passed their drug test 3 hours and 10 minutes later, and because they didn't hit the 3-hour mark, they didn't get the ride fast in time, they had to go 30 days to the Raritan Valley, and that needs to change. I'm for the drug testing, but at least provide either drug test the kids at school or provide them the transportation to JFK. Don't punish kids for being clean, number one. We need better coaches to recruit the at youth risk, rather than accepting anybody who shows up. Some of Edison's best athletes, like I know, they never even enrolled in the sports programs. The coaches didn't even want them in the programs, and I'm speaking honestly with you. They just went and they got the kids that they wanted. Whatever. We would have had a way better sports program if they went for the best athletes we had. And that's pretty much it. Oh, the overcrowding issue. People say we have an overcrowding issue. Have you seen Lindenau School? The parking lot at Lindenau School is bigger than the school itself. Have you seen the park right next to Lindenau School and then the park across the street? Well, if you notice to the park to the right, it's an open baseball field. Why don't they just build more facilities right there? There's more space to build more facilities. And then we got Washington School. They talk about this overcrowding. I went to Washington School. There's more than enough space to build additional facilities. Just like if you go to Thomas Jefferson Middle School, have you seen the backyard of Thomas Jefferson Middle School? It's huge. It's almost an acre back there. But we're going to continue talking about overcrowding. How about let's spend our money and rebuild these schools?
Okay.
And I want to rename Lindenau School either after two people. Is the Board of Education members allowed to rename schools?
There's a policy.
It's a policy.
There's a policy?
Mhm.
Well, anyways, nobody knows who Lindenau is. And when I Googled Lindenau, it was just some rich family from America that nobody knows about. Let's be honest. We can name after Thomas Paine. Maybe many of you don't know Thomas Paine. He wrote the book Common Sense that triggered the American Revolution. Okay? Or we could name it after a local hero, Jimmy Lynch, that on September 11, on his day off of work, he chose to go. He saw what happened on the TV. He chose to go to provide oxygen tanks to the firefighters, and he had passed away September 11, 2000. There's a street named for him, but I don't think that's enough. I think we should name the school after him as well, because his family did live a few blocks away from there, and I did go to school with his son at St. Matthew's, so I think we should show some respect to our local heroes.
Okay, thank you.
Not some rich Lindenau family that nobody knows. Go to the kids in Lindenau School, ask them who's Lindenau. They won't know. Name the school after somebody educational. Maybe they'll learn something. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
And don't destroy those clothing bins, because if we end up getting a fine for those clothing bins, it's going to be blamed back over here. Well, not all you guys, but the person who complained at the town hall to destroy them after our Board of Education attorney warned that person, you cannot destroy them. We're going to incur major fines. I mean,
I got your point. Thank you. Any other public comments?
Motion to adjourn?
Could I just
Yes.
make a request? At the August 26th meeting, can we bring back the construction people to get an update for the public? And maybe Mr. Conklin to give us an update on the special education changes that are going on at FDR? Because if people have questions, it's nice to have someone here to talk about it.
Some of the personnel issues, I don't think we can discuss in public about, if you're talking about transfers and stuff, I don't think we can talk in
No.
public.
The building and
That's fine.
the classrooms.
Yes.
and have, last month there was someone here from the construction company.
Yes.
If we could bring them back on
Okay.
August 26th, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Don't they come to the facility?
We do have a finance facility meeting,
to all those meetings and
that,
they get the
you know,
updates.
But it would be nice for the public right before school to know what's going on.
Well, Rich would tell us at the August 26th meeting.
so we'll have a committee report, and, you know, if, you know, you want them to come in, that's fine as well, so we'll see if they're available. Okay. All right, so we have a motion, to have a second? Okay, Mr. Brescher, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Meeting is adjourned, thank you.
For your birthday?